Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into the North Main Minute. I'm Joshua Dobi. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of data here recently on a macro level, talking nationally here, about where the consumer is. And when I say where the consumer is, meaning just in a macro kind of sense, where the consumer is in terms of spending, and unfortunately where the consumer is in terms of debt. And as you can probably see from my body language here, and perhaps even my voice tone, I've seen some discouraging data points. And I'm still calling them data points, not calling them a trend yet, but we definitely have been moving closer to the trend end of things in terms of the number of data points that we're seeing out there with regards to the consumer, and specifically with regards to consumer debt, meaning that we've hit some all-time highs in terms of car loan delinquencies. We have hit an absolute historical high in terms of the amount of revolving credit card debt, meaning debt that is older than 30 days sitting on credit cards sitting out there. We hit a new record there as well. And we're also seeing some slowdown in terms of what the consumer is spending and where the consumer is spending it. So when we put those kind of data points together, we get a little bit leery. We thought it important to jump on here and talk a little bit more about that when it comes to your particular financial space. Now, caveat, you know this as well, everybody's situation is unique. So this is not broad-based recommendations for everybody, just a couple of big points to keep in mind. First, take a look at your budget. Now, you may say, well, I don't keep a budget, everything works out just fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's not that everybody has to have a budget, or even if you have to have a budget, that everybody manages it in the same ways. Everybody's situation is unique. The most important part of the budget is, I know it's going to sound a little elementary, make sure that debt, other obligations, expenses, overhead, overall is below what your income is. Now, I'm chuckling a little bit, but we have this conversation a lot with folks because all too often we're having conversations where debt, overhead, expenses exceed income. Folks, I know that's incredibly 101 in terms of how we're looking at it, but that's not going to work for the long term. You may be able to get away with it, or sometimes we go through challenging spaces and we need to do that for a while, but make sure you right shape the ship as soon as you can on that kind of thing. But the very least that's true is it doesn't hurt to take a look at what your expenses are. Sidebar real quick, one of the things that we see often with folks is, especially in this day and age of how we consume entertainment, they have apps for which they're paying on a monthly basis. They don't even know what they have. They may have 30, 40, 50 different things for which they're paying on a monthly basis. There now are even apps to help you control your apps that are out there so that you can know actually where your money's going on a monthly basis. Big idea on that. Take a look at it. Take a look at your budget. Make sure that you still have a wide amount of discretionary income. And if not, make some changes to how you're looking at things. Second big thing that's out there when we're thinking about where the consumer is right now, make sure that you're making your decisions about how you spend for the right reasons. Now, before you get too excited at me, I'm not telling you how to spend your money. I'm just saying that make sure that you're spending your money on things that you actually use. I talked about just a moment ago where folks have apps they use, but I'm also talking about the other parts of our income experience. Maybe you have a great Starbucks habit, and this is not me saying that Starbucks is terrible. I'm not saying that at all. But I do know folks who make Starbucks their part of their daily ritual. Well, if you're tight on your budget, it's the Starbucks or other related, maybe you're a Bojangles guy, and I hope you are, or gal. But if you, whatever it may be something that's more discretionary in nature that can allow you to breathe a little bit easier if you would pare that back a little bit. Again, comes back to the budget idea. Make sure you're taking a look at that. Make sure you know where you're spending, and that where you're spending is where your priorities are. Third big item here. We talk about this a lot with folks, especially with younger clients. If you're in revolving debt, so maybe you have student loan debt, credit card debt, even something with regards to automobile loans or to your mortgages, make sure you're managing it in a healthy way. And with non-collateralized debt, so I'm looking at student loan debt and credit card debt because those are the most prevalent that are out there, make sure you have a very intentional plan of how you can reduce that and then eventually pay it off. Folks, we see it all the time. And I understand, this is not judgment, it's out there. I just told you we're at an all-time record high for credit card debt right now. It is everywhere out there. It's not so much being in debt, meaning it's not so much about where you are, but about the direction that you're heading. Let me say it differently. If you're just making the monthly payment on that credit card debt every month, they actually legally have to tell you on your credit card statement. Nobody likes to look at that part. I get it. But it tells you, it legally has to tell you on your monthly credit card statement, if you make just the monthly payment, how long it's going to take for you to pay that current debt off, assuming you don't add to it at all. I've seen something 22 years, 29 years that's sitting. Folks, that is a tremendously long time. That's a mortgage. I mean, that's how long you keep mortgages in some instances that you have on your primary residence. So you want to be leery. If you're only making the monthly payment, take a look at your budget. Are there ways in which you can knock that down faster? Same thing on the student loan aspect of things. Are there ways in which you can pay that down faster? Often, that is one of the strongest financial decisions that you can make because you're reducing your future interest expenses on that debt, especially credit cards. Student loans tend to be a little bit lower in terms of interest rate, but it's the same thing there as well. If you can pay that off faster, that's actually, for many folks, one of the most lucrative financial decisions that they can make because of the impact of not having to pay that future interest on that debt. So take a look at that closely. Get a plan together. If you don't have one at this point, get a plan together, especially on that non-collateralized debt. So I'm not looking specifically at mortgages and car loans, although they're in this discussion too. Looking at credit cards, student loan debt, etc. Get a plan together of how you're going to pay that down and how you're eventually going to pay it off. If you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, perhaps take a look at your debt situation. Perhaps you're in a space where you graduated from college, big student loan debt. Perhaps you lost your job for a while, you racked up some credit card debt. Let's get a strategy together. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how you can get a space where you can knock it down. Very rarely is it a press a red button and it all goes away. So it really comes down to having a plan and being intentional about it. If you'd like to chat with us about it, we'd love to hear from you. NorthMainFinancial.com.